going to talk about where to find real MBE questions. We'll review why it is important to use released questions, and then I'll talk about 5 sources for them and the pros and cons of each. Before we get into this, I want to recommend that you download our free MBE guide, which contains tips on real MBE questions and so much more. We just updated it so it has checklists and the law that you need to know and beautiful images that illustrate areas of substantive law. It's gotten great feedback and it's free, so please download it for free at the link below. And if you find this video helpful, please like and subscribe to our channel. Now let's get to it. There are a few different sources for real MBE questions, but before we talk about what those sources are, let's quickly talk about why it's important to use real or NCBE released questions. The term NCBE released means released by the National Conference of Bar Examiners. The National Conference of Bar Examiners is the organization that writes the bar exam. There are a few reasons that it is a good idea to use these real NCBE released MBE questions. First, they will help prepare you most for the questions that you will see on your actual bar exam. They are the most similar to what you will see on your bar exam. Some students swear that they actually see repeat questions on their bar exam, which they do not, because the NCBE does not reuse questions. But the questions might have been very similar to the NCBE released questions that the students were practicing. So using real questions will actually increase your chances of passing the bar exam. A few added benefits are that it will also give you confidence when you walk into the bar exam. You will know when you walk in that you have used the best practice questions available and that you are prepared for the test that you are about to be given. Confidence can go a long way in improving your score on the bar exam. The mental component of taking the bar exam can affect your score for better or worse. Lastly, more and more people are using released questions, so if you do not use these questions, you are potentially putting yourself at a competitive disadvantage. So overall, put yourself in the best position possible and use released questions. You are just more likely to pass the bar exam. Now let's talk about where to find real MBE questions. First, check to see if your commercial course offers released questions. Some do, some don't. If you are taking a JD advising course, then your course comes with all 2,000 released NCBE questions, so there's no reason to purchase them separately because you already have all the questions, including the best and most recent ones available, as well as all the answer explanations. So check with your commercial course to see if they offer released questions. If they don't, then you know you have to look elsewhere. If they do, then ask if they offer the most recently released exams. The National Conference of Bar Examiners released a 200-question exam at the very end of 2019 and at the very end of 2021. We call them the 2020 and the 2022 exams. These are by far the best questions available for you to practice with. However, they are also the most expensive to license. So there is a disincentive for courses and companies to offer these to students. So if your course is offering released questions, see if they are recent, like from 2019 and 2021. If they are all older, like from the 90s or early 2000s, then they are likely outdated and you will likely not get exposed to more recent questions. You will also not be exposed to any released civil procedure questions because civil procedure was only added to the bar exam in 2015. The licensing fee for released questions, especially the most recent and best questions, is high. So if you get these questions from other sources, that licensing fee will be built into the cost. In other words, it comes with a price tag. There are a few other resources for released MBE questions. First, let's talk about the online resources available. I'm going to be biased and talk about JD advising questions first. We offer about 2,000 questions as of right now, and these include the most recent NCBE released questions from 2022 and 2020. In other words, you're getting the best questions available. All of them come with answer explanations. The QBank is currently $350, so it comes with a price tag, but it also comes with high value, given that it has 2,000 released questions. If you are only looking for the most recent exams from 2020 and 2022, then we do sell them in our QBank, but we also sell these separately in PDF format. And one of the advantages of using them in PDF format is that if you print it, you can experience what it is like to take the actual multiple choice exam. The multiple choice portion of the bar exam is not administered online, it is administered on paper. You will be filling out a multiple choice Scantron sheet rather than entering your answers online. So an advantage of using this PDF format is that you can practice taking the bar exam on paper rather than through an online portal. A second source is Adaptabar. It is similar to JD Advising in that we both offer close to 2,000 questions, answer explanations, and an online scoring system. Their QBank is a bit pricier and closer to $400. It currently costs $395. Lastly, the National Conference of Bar Examiners itself also offers released questions. They have 625 questions available now for $100. What is a little confusing to me is I'm not sure if they are recent questions or not. It is very important to get the most recently released questions. Also, it looks like as of the date of this recording, that only 300 of their questions come with answer explanations, which means that 325 do not. And that is slightly concerning to me also because it limits the usefulness of those questions. After all, if you answer a question incorrectly, you're going to want to read the answer explanation so you can see why you answered it incorrectly so that you don't make the same mistake again. Lastly, if you are looking for a book of released questions, you can take a look at the Strategies and Tactics 7th edition. Though to be honest, this has a lot of cons. But first, let's talk about the pros. The pros of the Strategies and Tactics 7th edition are, first, it is a paper book. The MBE is going to be administered on paper, at least for the next few years, so it is helpful to practice the kind of test you'll be given, and that is on paper. A related con is that it is very bulky and difficult to carry around, so if you're the kind of person that likes to answer questions on the go, this book might not be right for you. I am personally old-fashioned, and I like paper books and exams rather than answering questions online. The next pro is that it is relatively inexpensive. It is about $90, which is much less than most released question platforms that start at no less than $300. So it is a good way to save money, but still get access to released questions. It is definitely much better than not answering any released questions at all. But there are also cons. The main downside is the number of questions. This book has only 541 released questions, with a total of only 30 released civil procedure questions, so not that many. This is much better than answering no released questions, so if it is this book or nothing, get this book. However, most other real MBE question sources have significantly more than 541 released questions. Our QBank, for example, has closer to 2,000. Relatedly, since civil procedure can be tricky on the MBE, it is a good idea to get more than 30 released questions, especially since many course questions don't always reflect the level of difficulty nor the specific nuances tested by the NCBE. Lastly, and most importantly, the Strategy and Tactics 7th edition also does not contain any recently released questions. It does not contain any questions from 2020 or 2022. The most recent practice exam, MBE OPE 4, that it does contain is from before 2015. So that exam does not include civil procedure questions. A final practice exam without civil procedure is simply not nearly as useful as purchasing recently released questions that contain civil procedure. Indeed, the recently released questions also more accurately reflect the formatting and difficulty of the MBE exam that you are likely to take. One final warning: do not purchase released questions from multiple sources because you will be getting the same questions. Some people hear me talk about released questions, and then they go and purchase the JD Advising QBank and the Strategies and Tactics book along with it. And this is simply not a good idea because you're going to have overlap. The NCBE only releases so many questions, and that is somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000, depending on the year. It's 2,000 now, next year it will be even lower than 2,000 as they are not licensing some of their older questions anymore. So if you buy questions from multiple sources, you will likely see repeat questions. Just stick to one. So hopefully this gives you an idea of some of the sources for released MBE questions, and more importantly, I hope it inspires you to use some recently released MBE questions in your practice so that you have the best chance of passing the bar exam. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe to our channel, and please don't forget to download our completely free and updated MBE guide below.